Vignette 6, Operation Gashi, Arrow in Pushto by General Abdul Rahim Wardak. From 23 October to 7 November 1988, a force of some 2,000 mujahideen from the National Islamic Front of Afghanistan, NIFA, shut down the Kabul-Jalalabad highway along a 70-kilometer stretch between Sarobi and Laghman. I commanded them. This action was part of a four-party, NIFA, HIK, HIH, and JIA, combined operation aimed at closing the eastern supply route to the Afghan capital for a period of 2 months, October through November. Each party was responsible for deploying its units to keep the highway blocked for 15 days. The operation was planned in the wake of Soviet forces' withdrawal from the Nangarhar province. The Mujahideen intent was to prevent the government from reinforcing the Jalalabad garrison while the Mujahideen prepared to advance on Jalalabad from Torkham. Elements of the DRA 8th and 18th Border Guard Brigades, the DRA 60th Infantry Division, tank subunits from the 15th Tank Brigade, a Sarandoi battalion, and local militia manned the enemy's 6 bases and nearly 20 outposts along this stretch of road. The DRA hoped to protect the highway against Mujahideen attacks and keep the supply route to Jalalabad open. Map 6-7A, Arrow 1. Each base was manned by at least a platoon reinforced by 1 or 2 tanks or APCs, 122mm D-30 howitzers, plus heavy machine guns and 82mm mortars. The outposts consisted of 5 to 10 men reinforced with machine guns, AGS-17, and mortars. I assembled my force from Mujahideen groups based across several districts in Nangarhar and Kabul provinces. Some of these groups were based more than 200 kilometers apart. Other groups and a contingent of 70 former Afghan army officers who were used to work with combat task forces came from the NIFA Central Reserve based in Pakistan. I organized my force into 5 strike groups: Task Forces Bravo, Charlie, Falcon, Golf, and Hurricane; 2 containment, holding groups: Task Forces Alpha and Delta; 1 reserve, Task Force Echo; and 1 rocket launcher group, Sakar rocket launcher. The force composition follows: A. NIFA's Kabul Province Eastern Sector Forces under the overall command of Dr. Shukrok Gran. 1. Task Force Alpha, AO, Marora and Salamkel Tangay. Number of Mujahideen, 350. Unit Commanders: Sadiq Patang, Haji Sanjin, Mir Wali, Kawani, Mirajan, Rekmin, Haji Habib, and Mo Alam Karim. 2. Task Force Bravo, AO, Dibili. Number of Mujahideen, 393. Unit Commanders: Janat Gul, Haji Mir, Gulbat, Saki, Uzmankel, Gulam Rasul. 3. Task Force Charlie, AO, Kamke Dargo. Number of Mujahideen, 276. Unit Commanders: Muhammad Alam, Zahir Khan, Sahak, Saki Janikel, Majnun. 4. Task Force Delta, AO, Gato Dargo. Number of Mujahideen, 411. Unit Commanders: Nur Hassan, Syed Rahman, Captain Zalmay, Afridi, Gulab, Nur Rahman, Ruhullah. 5. Task Force Echo, AO, Dargo. Number of Mujahideen, 343. Unit Commanders: Hassan Khan, Karokel, Sartor, Asal Khan, Captain Hashmat, Khalil, Ahsan. 6. Task Force SSM, Sugar, AO, Shakari, targeting Kabul Airport. Number of Mujahideen, 100. Unit Commanders: Captain Siddiqullah, Zahir Khan, Shinwari, Hanan, Ghulam Haidar, Umar, Hassan Khan, Momin Khan. B. NIFA forces from Nangarhar Province, Southwestern Sector. 1. Task Force Falcon, AO, Torgar, opposite the Kaftar Khana base. Number of Mujahideen, 250. Unit commanders, Lieutenant Wali, Shari Ati, Mohammed Anwar. 2. Task Force Gulf, AO, Torgal, opposite the Spina Thana base. Number of Mujahideen, 350. Unit commanders, Haji Zaman, Gamsharik, Zabit Zahir, Task Force Hurricane. 3. AO, Torgar, opposite Karokel base. Number of Mujahideen, 130. Unit commanders, Asaf Khan, Qazi Samula. While all these groups were assembling to the south of the Kabul River, I ordered a group of about 50 Mujahideen under command of Lieutenant Ali Ahmad and Gunsha Gul to move from their bases in the north, Ozbin area, and take positions at the northern ridge along the Kabul-Jalalabad highway overlooking the Dibili Bridge. They were to observe enemy activity and support the operation by fire. This group occupied the designated position but was unable to participate effectively and withdrew after a few days. While the number of Mujahideen in each group ranged between 100 and 350, I could use only 1/3 of them for combat since the rest were required for logistics and security tasks and occasionally relieving combatants at the front lines. My force was armed with individual automatic rifles, AK-47, light machine guns, RPK, heavy machine guns, PK, light anti-tank grenade launchers, RPG-7, Milan anti-tank missile launchers, 82mm recoilless rifles, 75mm recoilless rifles, 82mm mortars, 107mm multiple barrel, 12-barrel rocket launchers, BM-12, Sakar rocket launchers, and Stinger shoulder-fired air defense missiles. I instructed my 5 strike groups to attack and seize enemy bases/outposts, establish roadblocks, and lay ambushes against the enemy columns. The Western Containment Holding Group, Task Force Alpha, was positioned in Marora and Salam Kel Tangay area. I ordered them to block enemy columns attempting to enter its AO or attempting to outflank my forces along the old Sarobi-Jalalabad road. This road passes through Jegdale, one of my main Mujahideen supply bases. I gave Task Force Alpha an on-order mission to disrupt any enemy concentration in Sarobi by fire. I gave the Eastern Containment Group, Task Force Delta, a similar mission on the eastern flank of the operation area, i.e. eastern mouth of the Abreshman Gorge. I gave Task Force Delta an on-order mission to be prepared to serve as a strike group. I had the reserve group, Task Force Echo, concentrate in the Dargo area. They were prepared to act against enemy heli-borne insertions, to relieve Task Forces Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and to launch a counterattack if needed. I had the rocket launcher detachment operate independently. Their mission was to occupy firing positions in the Shakari area, about 80 kilometers away, and hit the Kabul airport to divert attention from the rest of the operation. Conduct of the operation. During the late part of September and first 3 weeks of October 1988, I directed the preparation, resupply, and movement of participating Mujahideen forces as they moved to the area of operation and deployed for action. I moved a total of 400 tons of various supplies from Pakistan to the area of operation by mules and other pack animals. Supplies included mines, small arms ammunition, rockets, mortar rounds, and anti-tank ammunition. One major challenge facing me was to covertly move the various Mujahideen groups from widely dispersed locations to the deployment area, avoiding enemy observation and air attack. Further, moving ammunition, supplies, and men from Pakistan through the 3 provinces of Paktia, Logar, and Kabul required detailed planning and careful execution. Mujahideen were all unpaid volunteers who joined the jihad to fight. One leadership challenge was to convince guerrillas to perform the vital, if unglamorous, missions of rear area security and LOC security instead of participating in actual combat. This was always hard since these volunteers wanted to fight. Another leadership challenge was commanding and controlling a volunteer, multi-regional force and integrating them into a single command. In fact, as later transpired, the right flank strike groups, Task Forces Falcon and Hurricane left their positions and withdrew unannounced to their permanent bases when their permanent bases came under enemy threat. Further, as our operation continued over a week, many Mujahideen became restless and gradually left the battle area unannounced. Mujahideen had developed the habit of what Ali Jalali terms short hit and long run tactics. There were several reasons for this. First, the Mujahideen felt that they were fighting a war of 1,000 battles, and no single battle was a decisive one. Therefore, the Mujahideen felt that combat should be limited in terms of time and space in order to increase the Mujahideen's survivability. Another reason was the absence of an efficient logistics system to provide meals, medical support, and other required services. The fighters were issued all available supplies prior to the battle. There was seldom resupply available afterwards. This forced the Mujahideen to carry heavy loads and forage for food. Local food resources were scarce since the Soviets had destroyed the local economy and driven out the population in the rural areas. Consequently, Mujahideen field rations had to be carried from Pakistan and were poor and monotonous, usually bread with tea or boiled rice and dal, a split chickpea dish. Mujahideen fought best on their home territory. This area of operation was not the home turf for most of my forces. They were not fighting on their home territory, but away from their villages, where they were better provided for and had a better chance for rest. Given the traditional attachment of the Afghan resistance to its home territory, many Mujahideen did not feel the same enthusiasm they showed in fighting their own villages. Finally, the long treks in the mountains sometimes lasted for weeks and contributed to fatigue before the battle began. Mujahideen commanders were hard-pressed to keep their extremely hungry and tired fighters together for an extended period of time. Although my operations plan encompassed a wide front from Serobi to Sirkakan Bridge, 70 kilometers, the main action took place on a 4-kilometer stretch between Debili and Dargo bases, map 6-7B, arrow 2. Combat at other points was either in support of this action, Task Forces Alpha, Delta, and Echo, or were separate actions, such as attacks on Karakel Post, Spinathana Base, and Kaftarkhana Base. The operation began with rocket attacks on the Kabul military airport on October 19. The rocket launcher detachment targeted the airfield and kept it under intermittent fire until a few days after the beginning of the roadblock, when the rocket detachment moved to Jagdale to fire on an enemy concentration in the Niglu-Sarobi area. My operations plan had 4 phases. 1. Attack to destroy and seize enemy bases and outposts. 2. Block the road by destroying bridges, laying mines, and shelling enemy columns attempting to reopen the highway. 3. When the enemy manages to reopen the highway, conduct a large-scale ambush to inflict heavy losses. 4. Break contact and withdraw. Phase 1. The strike groups initiated their attack along the extended front at 1000 hours, October 23rd. Rocket launchers, mortars, recoilless rifles, and heavy machine guns provided supporting fire from the southern high ground overlooking the highway. Since the area was heavily mined by the enemy, my Mujahideen could not descend on the road from all points. Instead, they moved down a limited number of mountain arroyos. These arroyos were safe since minefields could not be maintained in them due to the periodic flash floods which swept through them. These arroyos were mostly in the Debili and Dargo area. Once my Mujahideen passed through the mined area, they fanned out and attacked the enemy using the paved road as the main approach. Their movement was covered by fire from the high ground dominating the gorge. The assault groups stormed the targeted enemy outposts and bases. After fierce fighting, several posts were overrun and others isolated from their bases and neighboring posts by 1600 hours. During subsequent attacks through October 25th, my force seized 14 outposts and 4 bases. The occupants were killed, fled, or captured. We seized about 100 prisoners, 11 tanks or APCs, and 21 other vehicles. We damaged the hydroelectric installations at Serobi and Niglu, which supply electricity to Kabul and Jalalabad. Our losses were 10 killed and 21 wounded. Phase 2. As my strike groups secured the highway, They destroyed 3 highway bridges.